Ladies and gentlemen, from the creator of Sinister Bunny Studios, this is the Metal Brain Podcast.
Alright, what's up you guys? Welcome back to the Metal Brain Podcast. We're back with another video episode, if you weren't aware. If you've got this opened up on Spotify, definitely check and make sure your video is turned on for this so you can see the beautiful new studio that I'm sitting in to record this podcast and the rest of the content that I'm going to be making in the foreseeable future. We have moved because we have bought a house, which is crazy enough to say in itself, and that's just where things are. I never thought that I would get to this point at 25, but it was more of a smart financial decision, and I can get to that here in a little bit. But yeah, this is just a little glimpse into the newer studio. It's an actual finished room. I'm still in the basement, but the basement is finished, and this is actually a bedroom in the basement, so it's actually separated off, which is pretty cool to me, and I get to do what I want with it. Obviously, I have my studio set up. I got some of my lights here. It's 2:30 in the morning, so I'm not doing anything super loud, but I've got my desk as usual. My notebooks, all my stuff is just here and ready to go whenever inspiration strikes. Got my guitars back over there. You can't see them off camera, and things are just different now, and I have a good feeling about where things are going to go with this. Like I said, now I have this more permanent dedicated space to create, and that includes this podcast. And I know I've been kind of lackluster with this podcast, and that's not really how I want things to go. It is technically just a little side project. It's not something that's a main priority, because Sinister Bunny Studios, with my metal covers, my music, and videos and all that, is a higher priority, but I do enjoy doing this, and I think I'm going to make this now, with the move and all this new studio good feelings, it's going to be more of a consistent thing. And I know I've said that in the past. It's kind of that artist curse of yeah, I'm going to do this consistently, and then you don't. Hey, I can only do so much. I am human, and finding a house is a very, very stressful and crazy thing, and putting in an offer and closing on one and all that, it is a mess. And if you've been through it, you know what I mean. But the point is, now we got a house. It's a pretty nice house. Financially, it was a better decision than to try to rent again, because before we were renting a townhouse, a 2-bedroom townhouse, and that was okay because it was an upgrade from, let's say, an apartment, because it had a ground level, a second floor with 2 bedrooms and a bathroom. The ground level had the living room, the kitchen, and the half bath, and then there was a basement, which was where my studio was. Where you probably saw a lot of my Sinister Bunny Studio stuff, and maybe a few of the video episodes for the Metal Brain Podcast. It was an unfinished basement, so rafters up on the top, cement block walls, the whole 9 yards. Typical unfinished Michigan-style basement. But now, I got the vinyl floors, I got the drywall, windows. I've actually got an egress window right here. Even though I'm in a basement, and I can open this window in the summer and fall whenever I want a breeze or anything to come in here. It's just all around. It's good stuff. And it makes me a ton more happy and more inspired to make things and do things. And it's just, now it's more of my space, as opposed to the impermanence of the other spaces that I have been in throughout my different movings around in different places. They've all been kind of temporary because they were always rentals. And the feeling of owning a home is pretty great. We were very fresh. We just closed on this back March 23rd or so. And so we're still new. We're still kind of unpacking everything that we moved in with. But we're a majority of the way there, and we've got things set up the way that we like, and there's a lot of good things. And I still have to do a lot of work here in the studio. There's a lot of things that I want to do to make this a very efficient and powerful content creation room. And I've got a lot of ideas that I'm going to kind of troubleshoot and deal with. And it makes me so much more happy to be in this place. And we've got a fenced-in backyard for Dio, our German Shepherd, so he's got a lot of room to run around and play, and we're setting up security cameras here all over the place so we can watch and make sure nothing happens, or if something does happen, we can catch it. Hopefully not. All sorts of good stuff. And yeah, this is just the new space in my bookshelf. As you can see, I've actually got some of my books up there and some of my memorabilia of things. I don't have my Doom limited run box thing up here in the corner lit up. Normally it's lit up, but then I've got my Switch, I got my Evil Dead collector's box, the Thor's hammer toolbox, and then some books, because you got to read. And my equipment all lit up on the shelf below. It's all a look thing. And, I'm happy. Like I've said, moving can be extremely stressful because there are a lot of timelines to line up with, a lot of guessing, and a lot of ifs, ands, or buts. And there's just a lot to it if you've never been through it before. Luckily, we had an awesome realtor who helped us through the process and everything, and that was great. He made it a whole lot easier, a lot more easy to understand. Things just went nice during the whole thing. And like I said, I never thought that I would own a home, or at least this young, right? It was just, with how crazy the world is right now and the economy, in a weird and kind of fucked up way at the same time, it made more financial sense to get a mortgage that was, let's say, the same or less than what we were paying in rent, because then we have equity and we're paying into something with an appreciation and an appreciation of equity. So it's essentially ours. We have ownership of something. It's not just like renting and we have no, there's no stake in it for us. Like there's no skin in the game on that end for us. Like the house we own, and you take on some other things like maintenance wise. There's no maintenance team to call to be like, hey, this is broken, come fix it. You got to do stuff yourself, call contractors to do whatever, do it yourself if you're a DIY or a handyman or woman. But I like that. Like I've already done some little bits of DIY here and there. Like I made a new dog gate for the entrance here in the basement, because at our old townhouse, the basement had a door to it, and we had one of those pet gates at the top of the stairs for when we were gone, and we didn't want to leave him out throughout the whole house when he was a puppy and whatnot. And there's kind of a relationship thing with our cat that's kind of tough to maneuver sometimes, because basically she really hates him, but he really loves her, and he always wants to play with her and seek her out, and she doesn't, so it's tough. And if they go chasing around the house, it can end up breaking a lot of things. So we had to kind of keep them separate in a way. And the basement here at the house does not have a door. So I had to come up with some kind of solution, because he was basically pushing the pet gate down, which is only held up with these threaded bolts with feet on the end of them that extend into the walls and push into the walls. So eventually it's just going to slide and slip out, which, he's a big boy, and if he's pushing on it, whatever, it's going to come out. And yeah, there's training thing and a boundary thing of letting him know that that's not okay. We're working on it. It takes time. It's tough sometimes. Like when you're gone, you can't tell a dog no if they do something wrong necessarily. So it's kind of a reinforcement of their behavior if whatever they're doing works. Like if we're not home and he jumps on the gate and he knocks it over and gets out, well, he just positively reinforced his behavior to himself because he got out, and neither of us were there to tell him no and correct him. So that can be tough. So I went to Home Depot and bought $40 or so worth of lumber and hardware. Basically built a 4 foot by 3 foot, so 4 foot tall, 3 foot wide gate out of pine 2x4s. I cut up into a shape and made a gate out of. Pretty heavy duty. Screwed the hinges into the door frame that is down by the basement that's off on the sidewall, which is supposed to be an access to the furnace and whatnot. Yeah, so I've been kind of troubleshooting with that, getting the alignment right with it, and troubleshooting to see what he's able to knock through or move and whatever. But that's the fun stuff. Like, I like working with wood and making things. It feeds that creative side of me as well. Just the same as writing music, playing guitar, making videos, making a podcast. That act of creating something that is an end product, that you have something to show for it. And yeah, I just, I like doing things like that. And honestly, I should do it more. And especially now that we have a house and I'm not renting, I can use all the power tools and all sorts of crazy stuff to maybe build like desks similar to the one I have here that I built for myself and sell them and stuff like that. Maybe make some side cash and whatnot. But you never know. It's one of those things where, hey, why not? I currently created a local entity for myself that I don't know if I want to name because it does give away location a little bit, but it's an entity for myself that is more focused on local freelance of photography, videography, video editing, maybe some musical stuff if people need music recorded for videos or what have you. I'm kind of a jack of all trades with things. I can record music, dialogue, mix master, edit video, edit photos, take video, play music, just trying to advertise that side of myself to slowly wean off of the day job thing and hopefully make creativity kind of work and pay the bills. And, even this podcast is part of that. Having my hand in a lot of different cookie jars, if you know what I mean. I've got Sinister Bunny Studios, where I've got my metal covers that I do have on streaming platforms currently. That makes some money. The original music that I released that makes money. Not making money on my YouTube videos yet because the partner program thing is frustrating at times. I have enough subscribers. I've had enough subscribers for a very long time, but it's the watch time because a lot of my videos are fairly short with covers and stuff. So you need a lot more views to boost up that watch time. It's a whole other discussion. But then I've got affiliate marketing. Like, I work with this company in Michigan called Lockhart's. They're like hair care products and stuff like that. And I've been using them since high school, and now I'm kind of like an ambassador for them. So I make commissions off of sales when people use my discount codes and whatnot. So if you're looking for some really amazing hair products, men, women, doesn't matter, and stuff that smells really good, that works really well, look up lockhartsauthentic.com/sinisterbunny, or go to lockhartsauthentic.com, use the code sinisterbunny at checkout, and you get 10% off, I believe, your entire order. And that helps kick back towards me and helps me make some money to pay for the creativity that I do. Stuff like that. And then the podcast makes a little bit of money here and there, depending. Now, I could see a lot more potential if I were to focus on it a little bit more, but I don't necessarily focus on it as much as I probably should. And like I said, now that I'm in this more permanent studio, I'll probably make this more of a consistent thing. And I don't know if I'd set up a different area maybe to do the podcast, because I kind of like just being able to be right here at my desk. But if I have guests on here and whatnot, then that makes things a little more complicated. And I want to be able to have things look cool and nice. Like right now, it looks okay, but I'm not worried about it being crazy good, because I think a fraction of people will watch the video podcast aspect of this. I think more people will do the audio only version of this, which is typically what I do when I'm listening to podcasts at work and whatnot. And yeah, so it's just good enough for now. It's filler, and I don't have like a big fancy sign or anything. But then again, it's like 2:45 in the morning right now on a Saturday night, and I'm not too worried about it looking all crazy cool or anything. I got a cool Haken sweatshirt on, and it's all a good thing, you know? It's just, it's all the things that you could ever want. Ever. At 2:47 a.m. It's just, it's the good stuff, you know? Regardless, you know, that's kind of what's been going on as of late on the front over here. Not anything too crazy going on, just, you know, moving up in life. And that is about all that I can talk about at the moment. And life is just crazy sometimes. It takes you on an interesting journey sometimes that you don't always, you know, see yourself in. I never saw myself as a homeowner at 25. And trust me, this is not any extravagant, crazy good house. We found like the best in the situation that we could, right? We had a price range that we wanted to stay within to keep the mortgage in a comfortable place. And we found the best fit within that range that we could, that cried out, this is a home to us. Checked a handful of the boxes that we wanted. And, you know, it's not perfect. It's going to take some work. Going to take some more money eventually in a handful of years. But it's ours. And we're not rich by any means or anything. And so it's not like a super crazy fancy house. But it is decently nice, right? And I think we're proud of it. We're proud of what we've been able to accomplish. You know, it's a feat that I don't think a lot of our peers have necessarily done themselves. Which, again, it's crazy to think about. Like, we're making these steps that a lot of our friends that we went to high school with and whatnot are just like, what? No, you bought a house? How the hell did you do that? Because even I, you know, during the pandemic and even after, had just talked about, like, man, it was hard to find a house. Like, at first we were trying to find a house to rent because we wanted to get out of the townhouse that we were in, because the management of the company that manages those townhouses we were staying in are fucking garbage people. Like, there's some good ones that I've talked to since we've stayed with them for like a little under 2 years, but some of the management for this management company, just complete dickholes. Like, they do this thing called term leasing, right? Which is where they only usually sign leases for August through July, because they try to coincide with the school year with the local colleges, and maybe even just high schools and stuff for families. They try to coincide with the school years to get, you know, an influx of people, because people are looking. And so the first time we moved to those townhouses, and we moved in August, and by October, October, so like 2 months into this 1 year lease, they're already sending letters out to us like, hey, we need to know if you're going to re-sign with us. I'm sorry, I've only been with you guys for 2 months, like less than 2 months, and you're already asking that. And it would have been one thing if they were just like asking like, hey, would you like to? They were giving a deadline. They're like, hey, we want to know by October 31st or November 15th or whatever it was, if you guys are going to re-sign with us or not. And I had so many issues with that. And when I had spoken to a representative of this management company, who was like the manager of the company, I guess, he was just kind of a dick. You know, Andrew was his name. Fucking dick. Just major dick. And I don't say that lightly or loosely. Just, oh my God. He was rude from the get-go on the phone. I could tell he was impatient and did not want to stay on with me whatsoever. And when I was explaining to him, hey, most places only really require a 60-day notice if you're going to vacate, if you're going to move, not this weird, hey, we need to know if you're re-signing with us or not. And basically what he had told me was, well, you know, if you don't re-sign with us by the deadline or tell us that you're going to by the end of the deadline, then we will list your property as available for the next term. And this is not student housing, so don't confuse it. This is not student housing. Anybody can lease at this place. And so he was saying, you know, if you don't let us know, then we are going to market your unit. And if somebody signs for your unit for the next term after yours is finished, you will have to move. What the fuck is that? And so I told him, I was like, hey man, you know, like we've got some potential job situations changing here. We don't know where our money's going to be and what we're just trying to figure out what we're going to do. Like, can we have some more time? Like, I think it's reasonable to ask for a little more time, with just how quick you guys are about it. And, he said something along the lines of, well, I'll give you another 2 weeks, but this is not going to be a situation where I give you 2 weeks and when those 2 weeks are up, you ask for another 2 weeks. And just like unprompted assholery. And I'm pretty reasonable on the phone. Unless I get pissed off, then I voice my opinion. I'm not irate or abusive over the phone, but I will speak my mind and say, hey man, that's kind of like, that's not really cool. That's kind of messed up. And to be fair, there's nothing in your lease that says we are required to tell you this. And the fact that you're trying to strong arm us into another lease is kind of fucked up. Right? And so with our hands kind of forced and hands kind of tied, we signed another lease with them. And, you know, same shit happened again this last year in 2022. They straight up within a couple months were sending out the letters asking if we're going to re-sign or not. Thankfully, we were able to get to a point here where we were like, you know what? Sorry, we're not re-signing with you guys. We actually are buying a house. So fuck you guys, right? And I don't want to say the entire company is like that. I've had a bad experience with that one person. There are a couple other like administrative ladies that I had spoken to over the last 2 years that were really nice. But man, the maintenance sucked, and it wasn't necessarily the maintenance workers themselves. It was more so that this management company that manages the townhouses we stayed at also manages most of the other properties around town, because they've, since the pandemic, just started buying all of them up, and then obviously probably jacking the prices up and trying to kind of make this weird monopoly thing going on. And, you know, I think they just didn't put very much money into their maintenance team and not hiring enough people and enough equipment, because maintenance requests that we had put in when we first moved in just would vanish. Like, we had a whole list of them when we first moved in. They just vanished. Other ones they would just never get to. It would take weeks for them to get to. And I don't ever blame the maintenance guys, and maybe it could be their fault, but I tend to think not. I think they're spread very thin, and the maintenance people that did come to do whatever request we had were cool. I never had a bad experience with any of the people themselves. It was just the responsiveness of when we say, hey, something needs to be fixed. And funny enough, more recently we were Dio, our dog, and I were out in the kind of tiny little back patio at this townhouse that has a little privacy fence in it, but it's this like 10 by 15 little cement patio with a privacy fence in it. That was nice to have for a townhouse, right? Most of them don't have that. We were on there and he was bouncing his ball around, and it went into the one basement window after staying there for almost 2 years and broke through the window. And it was a rubber ball, and these windows were paper thin. And we never knew. Took a while for them to come in and fix that. I literally took pallet boards that I had from pallets I broke down, wrapped them in towels, and squeezed them and puzzle fit them into the exterior and interior of that window to keep it insulated, because it's still fucking cold. It was snowing and shit too. But it took forever for them to do that. And funny enough, they had called around that same time saying, hey, you know how we had a new AC unit installed at your townhouse like a year ago? We need to have that verified or something. They had to have a sticker put on it. And I was like, wait, shouldn't you have done that when it was installed? And when the people came to do it and everything and check out the AC unit, I asked them, because they were third party, they weren't affiliated with the management company. It's like, yeah, shouldn't this have been done like a year ago? And they were like, yeah, it definitely should have. They must be getting audited or something here soon. And I said, you, sir, are probably correct. That's probably the exact thing that's going on. So they don't want to do anything unless they are kind of forced to in some way, or the threat of getting in trouble kind of arises, which is pretty funny to me. And it is what it is. There's not much I can do per se, but sorry, I'm checking on this episode here in the podcast thing, but there's not a whole lot I can do for people like that. And it just made it a terrible experience. And I would never recommend that place to anybody. And I don't want to give out names or anything just for my own privacy and security reasons. But if I have any buddies or friends from high school that are like, hey, you stay there, what'd you think? I'd be like, stay the fuck away. It'd be very hard to find a property that's not managed by this company, but it's just a terrible experience. So now that we have a house, things are so much better, and there's a lot more security that we both feel having a house like this. There's, our rent is not gonna get jacked up or do some crazy stuff. Like the mortgage will stay fairly consistent. It may fluctuate here and there from year to year, but like it won't be crazy like jacking your rent up super crazy high for what you have. And trust me, what we were paying in rent for that townhouse was not worth what we got whatsoever. Just not even close. And yeah, so, and now we have more of a permanence thing. Like, I know whatever I can do down here, it can stay. I'm not going to have to move it again, hopefully, anytime soon. And it's just like, oh, it's ours. This is our house. This is our thing. And it just makes us feel so much better, right? So yeah, that's kind of the gist of what's been going on. Kind of a big update since the last episode and whatnot, but you know what? It's the way the cookie crumbles sometimes, and it's the the way of the world. Thank you guys so much for listening today. Hopefully this will be out a little more consistently now with the whole advent of a house. So, yeah. Thank you guys so much for listening. As always, you guys have been great. Stay metal, my friends, and I'll see you on the next one.